stillborn baby in the hospital. The next morning, I woke up at home, still pregnant. And 3 years later, my son said something that made my blood run cold. This is the story of how my baby was born twice. It started like any normal birth story. I was 9 months pregnant, 2 days past my due date, when labor finally began. My fiancé and I rushed to the hospital, both nervous and excited. This was it. We were finally going to meet our baby boy, but nothing went according to plan. I labored for hours and hours. The pain was excruciating, but something felt wrong. The staff seemed concerned, but kept telling me to push, to keep going, that everything would be okay. They didn't realize my baby was breech. By the time they figured it out, it was too late. Due to lack of oxygen during the delivery, my baby boy was stillborn. The grief was instant and all-consuming. One moment you're expecting to hear that first cry, and the next, silence. The kind of silence that shatters you. They wheeled me off to the recovery ward. My fiancé held our baby boy, our son we'd never get to know. I remember the weight of it all, like drowning in a sea of loss and disbelief. That night in the hospital was the longest of my life, and then I woke up, but not in the hospital. I was in my own bed, at home. The morning light was streaming through the window, and when I looked down at my body, I was still pregnant. My heart started racing. I turned to my fiancé, tears already streaming down my face. What happened? How am I back here? We lost the baby. He looked at me with concern and confusion, trying to calm me down. Honey, you must have had a nightmare. You haven't gone into labor yet. The baby's fine. A nightmare. Number. It was too real, too vivid, too detailed. And then I saw it. My hand. There was a bruise, right where the IV had gone in at the hospital. The hospital I supposedly had never been to. I was terrified, confused. I knew what I'd experienced wasn't a dream, but how could it be real? How could I be back here, on the same day, pregnant again with a baby I'd already lost? Hours later, labor started again. The same contractions, the same drive to the hospital. But this time, I was armed with knowledge I shouldn't have had. When we arrived, I was frantic. I begged the staff, pleaded with them, to do a scan, to check the baby's position. They probably thought I was just an anxious first-time mom, but they agreed. And there it was on the screen. The baby was breech, exactly like I'd somehow already known. The medical team immediately tried to turn him manually, but it didn't work. They rushed me to the operating room for an emergency C-section. I remember lying on that table, terrified that history would repeat itself, that my premonition or whatever it was had been a warning I couldn't change. But then I heard it. That cry. That beautiful, healthy cry. My baby boy was alive. They placed him on my chest, and I sobbed, not from grief this time, but from overwhelming relief and joy. I was holding my healthy son. Now, you might think that's where the story ends. A strange premonition, a happy ending, something I'd eventually rationalize away as a vivid nightmare brought on by pregnancy anxiety. But years later, something happened that I can't explain away. My son is nearly 3 now, a normal, happy, energetic toddler. We were just sitting together one afternoon, nothing special, just a regular day. And out of nowhere, he turned to me and said, "Mom, do you remember when I died in your belly?" My heart stopped. I felt the blood drain from my face. I questioned him, asked him what he meant, tried to get him to say more. But he just went back to playing, like he hadn't just said the most chilling thing I'd ever heard. He hasn't mentioned it since. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know if it was a premonition, experience of a hospital visit that never happened. And because of that experience, I fought for the scan that saved his life. And 3 years later, my son somehow knew about it. Some people might say it was a stress dream, that the bruise was coincidence, that toddlers say weird things, but I was there. I lived it. And deep down, I know what happened was real. By far the strangest thing that has ever happened to me. And I'm grateful for it every single day. If you've experienced something similar, a premonition that saved a life, or a child remembering something they shouldn't know, share your story in the comments. Sometimes the strangest experiences are the most true. Thanks for watching.